All right, glad to have you back. Now it's time for us to look at the stories on the front pages of our newspapers today. And to do that with us is Dotun Ojon. He's a leadership and communication strategist, and he's already here with us in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Yes.
All right, we start off with the Nation newspaper, and the major story here is presidency hits Obasanjo over Fayose Ladoja Obi, ex-president accused of undemocratic actions. And there is an excerpt of the statement of the Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, here. A 5-man legislature met at 6 a.m. and impeached Governor Dariye in Plateau. 18 members out of 32 removed Governor Ladoja of Oyo from office in Anambra. Abga's Governor Obi was equally impeached at 5 a.m. Would you say the chicken has come home to roost?
If you want to be fair with history, you will agree with me that the level of presidential rascality that we had during the period of former President Olusegun Obasanjo was unprecedented. And it was so because of the fact that Nigerians had forgotten the tenet of democracy before 1999. So he just came, bamboozled everybody, and everybody kept clapping. Because the office of the Nigerian president is perhaps one of the most powerful offices in the world. So give it to the article this morning. It's correct. That's exactly what happened during the Obasanjo leadership period between 1999. You discover that, especially between 1999 and 2003, and that's why I say, because a lot of people have forgotten the tenets of democracy, he did that so frequently. You discover that immediately after 2003, that kind of reduced. So that's the truth. It doesn't have any other word. It's the truth.
Okay, all right. So we go to the top of the paper by the left. Tinubu's panel saves APC from implosion. We're hearing that, but for this reconciliatory panel set up by the president, the APC would have faced more crisis.
That is not true. APC is still in a very serious crisis as we speak. Even the man who is in charge of the reconciliation is also having some issues, either we like it or not. So it's going to be too early for anybody to say, oh, if not for the... Though, there's no doubt about the fact that the committee will have contributed in one way or the other. But the crisis we still have in APC is huge. Everything are double-double, according to Senator Mela.
But then, looking at some of the things playing out right now, would you say that we might not know the reasons for that? For example, the MPDP, meeting with the leadership of the party, and then later on hearing that some of them were removed, about 50 of them or so were removed from, juicy committees within the party. But now they met with the vice president and will meet the president today. So don't you think something could be happening in the background?
Of course, there's nothing happening at the background except the fact that an average politician is looking at self at the expense of the society.
Okay.
So if I belong to any political party that is not paying attention to me as a person, my demand as a person, my ambition as a person, then I'm going to pull out. And that's the strategy of every professional politician. And that's what is playing out here. Immediately, you give them something. Now, immediately somebody receives something. They are not fighting because they want Nigeria to be better than this. Every professional politician is fighting for self and not for the society.
All right, so let's just run through the remaining stories because of time. Presidency begins vetting of a budget 2018. That will be cherry news to Nigerians. BDCs reject CBN's dollar purchase order. Eagles star Moses Simon out of World Cup. Falaye Monarch, Akure deserves railway. And then Buhari has delivered, says Information Minister Lai Mohammed. Ambode, our achievements are divinely inspired. That's it on the Nation.
And John, I'm reminded of the words of Professor Patrick Otieno Lumumba when he said, look, politicians only look forward to the next election, but statesmen look up, look to the next generation. Well, let's look at the Daily Sun at the moment, and the Daily Sun leads off with the story she talked about earlier. Buhari steps into an PDP crisis to meet aggrieved members after Oshibajo's preliminary intervention. You hope that this will finally, put the crisis to bed.
Yes, to a certain extent, because if you look at the crisis within APC, it's not just limited to the MPDP. There are even factions within the party that are not members of new PDP. So this is one part of the problems of APC. But if you sort this out, I believe that as time goes on, they begin to sort the other problems are.
And that is
even the biggest problem that the APC is having at the moment.
And that is reminiscent of all the parallel congresses in, all the states.
If you look at the parallel congresses, how many new PDP members were actually championing them? The major people that are actually calling for this parallel executive in some of these states are inherent members of APC.
And who are really the inherent members of APC, knowing that some political parties came together to merge? And by recognizing some members of your political party, the APC now, as NPDP, or them still holding on to that former toga of NPDP,
yes.
Do you foresee some other groups breaking out?
Of course, a number of groups will still break out, and starting from the National Assembly. The crisis in APC has given constitutional backing for breakout. Because immediately you have a crisis in a party, it shows that legislators can actually move to other parties, and they have succeeded in creating that within APC now. So the fallout is going to start from the National Assembly. Watch out if APC is not very careful.
All right, another story here. Biafra police, IPOB go for showdown. The IPOB is ordering its members to stay at home on May the 30th to commemorate, if you like, in honor of fallen Biafran heroes. And then the police are also saying, look, you are a prescribed organization. You don't have the power to call for a stay at home.
Yeah, you see, IK, my concern is not even what happened during Biafra. We lost a number of people within that period of over 2 years.
Yes.
My challenge now is that an average Nigerian does not still understand, even as we speak, that we are in a worse situation. Because the number of people, the over 1 million people or 2 million people that were killed during Biafra, if you calculate the number of people that have been killed between 2009 and now, could be more than that number. In the real sense of it. From the hand of Boko Haram, from the hand of headsmen, from the hand of some of these criminal people. So we need to be very careful at this point in time, and government has to be deliberate in its policy to unite the people, and the people have to be deliberate in their resolve to support the government, because it takes two to tango.
I was about to say that two-way thing, cooperation.
All right, let's look at another story here as well. I'm committed to protecting children. That's coming from President Muhammadu Buhari.
Of course, they are, I know that the government has invested some things, especially when it comes to the school feeding program. But again, it's not just about investment. I want the government to go a little further, because we have seen on the social media and we have verified the kind of food they serve in some schools.
I didn't want to mention.
They are terrible food, and the government has paid for it. That's the most painful part of it. It shows that from the point of payment and the point of food reception, something has gone missing. So the government must find is beyond just doling out money to feed these people. I do not expect a situation where I will see 1/2 loaf and they will cut it and they put something inside and give to the kids.
In fact, a journalist did an investigation on that school feeding program, and what she came out with not palatable at all. So we go to the next paper now, which is the Vanguard. Major story here: give hope to youth. Anglican Methodist Bishops task FG with double riders. No government in history has done so much with so little as Buhari's. That's Lai Mohammed, the information minister speaking there. And then VP Yemi Osinbajo, Nigeria on a journey.
Nigeria
to
on a
somewhere,
journey.
or I don't want to mention the other one.
The major challenge we have as a people is that we do not have a specific national reason why we are living. There's no specific national vision. I cannot leave my house this morning and have a specific national vision. Every politician just comes and perhaps just creates a slogan. And after 4 years, another one comes and creates another. But there's the need for us to actually sit down. Apart from the vision 2020 and the vision we have, what is actually our national vision that is going to supersede all government? Building a system around vision so that an average person will know that this is where we are going to. And there's a need to be deliberate about that. Now, speaking about the youth, without the youth, the necessary innovation needed in government cannot be achieved. I'm going to cite the case of, let me use the example of South Africa here. We have a number of parties in South Africa, I think over 30 of the political parties. But the three major ones, which is are the ANC, the Economic Freedom Fighter, and the DA, Democratic Alliance. You discover that because of the youthful vigor that has been brought into play in economic freedom fighter and DA. ANC is being forced to do the right thing now. The leader of economic freedom fighter in South Africa is about 35. The leader of DA in South Africa is about 36. And these people have brought innovation and direction into governance. And that is actually aligning the ANC to toe the path of direction. ANC was almost gone under the former president.
It doesn't bother them, but like they say, and of course, Governor of Kaduna State said it one time, Governor Nasir El-Rufai, that youth cannot just wait for power to be handed over to them. They have to wrestle for it. You know, you have to get it by yourself. Don't wait for anyone to give it to you. All right, moving on now. Why National Assembly Executive jacked up 2018 budget to 9.12 trillion naira. That's the presidency talking there, the assistant of the president on national affairs, Itaenang. You know, talking about, you know, they had to revise it because of the crude oil price increasing. Yeah. All right, then we just run through some other catchy stories here. 100 oil workers rescued as fire raises corn oil platform. Bank directors' dividends rise to 30 billion naira despite CBN's restrictions. And then APC crisis. NPDP meets Osinbajo in Abuja today.
All right, let's look at the point now. And the lead story here is Leave Our Son Alone. Saraki's kinsman warned Buhari and IGP. You remember that story very correctly.
Yeah. You see, that is why I do not trust experienced politicians. There's nothing you will tell me about them because they keep relying on what they've done before. And what have we done before? We have only played the politics of ethnicity. That's what we have done before. What have we done before? We have only played the politics of division. That's what we have done before. What have we done before? We have only played the politics of poverty. That's what we have done before. So this is a product of the politics of ethnicity. Not just from the people that are speaking, but from the fact that a lot of people look at the president and they believe that he's a sectional president. So it's a two-way thing. We need to cure this politics of ethnicity. And how do we cure it? Let's play politics of character. And the first C in character, in leadership, means care for all. You bring everybody together irrespective of their political party. Until we have that kind of leadership in Nigeria, we continue to have people suspecting themselves. And it's not healthy for our system.
So there is a sense in which you are saying that we must introduce hygiene into our politics.
I hope the professional politicians will listen.
Well, let's look at the other story. Delta Senator Nwabushi, not free yet. You remember, this is a man who's been going through, you know, some troubled times in the hands of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
You know, I'm one of those people who have criticized the EFCC at one point or the other because of capacity. You can't continue to bring cases and you get to court, they floor you. But again, one thing that I cannot fault about the cases with EFCC is that many of those people that have been arrested, they did mistakenly arrest them. Though the court might have freed them, but in the real sense of it, did you steal? That's the question. I did not steal. So if you didn't steal in the real sense of it, and it bothers me a lot when people steal when they are healthy. I'm not referring to anybody. And when they are supposed to answer questions, they suddenly fall sick. It bothers me a lot. My kinsman, one of my kinsmen, was very healthy when he was made the special advisor to the president on Niger Delta. But suddenly, after the last government, he became ill. As we are still talking, Aziza, in fact, there was a point, it got to a time that they posted his poster in Ondo State, and they said he's coming to go to the Senate. I was waiting to see him, but that didn't come. So you still while you are ahead, and when it is time to pay back,
to answer questions. Well, it's become a recurrent thing now.
All right, so we go to the last paper now, and that's this day. The major story, we already talked about it. NPDP leaders to meet Buhari Osinbajo today, so we'll leave that. We go to atop the paper masthead. Bandits kill another 30 persons in Zamfara.
You see, it is scary because I just want to come here on a Monday morning and review politics. I want to talk about the economy. I want our newspapers to be free of killings.
Well, that's difficult,
but again, it is difficult. It is proving difficult. And my fear is that, I said it in the studio the other time, that we had a law while growing up as a boy. My father made a law that nobody in my house will listen to the 1 o'clock news. I said it here. Why? Because we always heard that, we always heard then that there's one bomb blast here and there. It was very strange to us as a people. But now this thing is happening on a daily basis, and we are getting used to it, and it's affecting our psyche. And Even the value that we place on human life at every point in time is reducing. It is really sad. And I tell you, there's no government if the life and the property of the people cannot be secured. There's no government. I know that the problem of Nigeria is very complex, but again, that's why we need to leave the traditional way of thinking to technical way of solving this problem. When your problem becomes problematic, you go haywire to solve them.
Anyway, the president has promised that he's going to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. All right, now CBN to undertake spot checks on bank branches to ensure FX liquidity. APCON rejects directive, insists on rate review. Rate review now of Forex has been so difficult, and they seem not to be agreeing. Even MDC's Bureau de Change talking as well, that it just can't agree with it.
The most scary part of it is that if you have 2 ATM cards of different banks, I tried it lately. You use this one to pay for $100, for example. What they will charge you will be different from what another bank will charge you. It shows that we lack coordination. We don't know. And this on-the-spot assessment that the CBN is talking about, they have a way of doing it. They just keep the dollar in one place. Once CBN is coming, they put it very close to them on the counter.
All right. That's it now on a look at the front pages of the national dailies. Well, Odion, thank you very much indeed for coming. All right.
Thank you for coming. All right, stay with us on the show. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll be looking at the 15,000 core members INEC will be using for the Ekiti state governorship election in July. Stay with us.